YouTube. Today we have a huge update is Bronny James injury. Man, a lot of people have been wondering what's going on with Bronny. When is he officially going to be back on the court? And we just got some huge news that's indicating this dude may be back sooner than you think. Now, before I get in the video, man, let's like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, get a new notification every time I upload a new video. Appreciate each and every one of you. Now, man, Sierra Canyon was going crazy. You guys know by now their season actually did end up coming back, and a lot is going on. Now, first and foremost, Amari Bailey just set the record for the most points in a game at Sierra Canyon, and this dude dropped 46 points. Now, I've been saying he's been going crazy, but man, a lot of people are wondering when is Bronny James going to actually end up teaming up and hopping back on the court with him. Now, sources are actually saying that Bronny James is actually officially healthy, but just has to be cleared to be able to play and actually hop back on the court either for Sierra Canyon, or if that season does end, you guys know by now what is next. The AU season, and that's going to be lit if Bronny does end up hopping back on and playing for Strive for Greatness. That would be the team that he is going to play for. But man, a lot has been going on, and first and foremost, I gotta give a shout out to Amari Bailey, because 46, that's crazy. And I've been saying since day one that this dude has been getting buckets on the court and really looked good, specifically this year, especially when before the season got shut down, him and Bronny James were actually playing together, and this dude was just taking everything to a whole nother level. I gotta be honest, man, Bronny a lot of times was just standing on the outside getting some jump shots, and Bronny did have a couple blocks here and there, but man, when I saw the dog and Amari Bailey and how he was really going for everything on the court and looked super aggressive, I knew this dude is going to be a special talent in the future. But specifically, Bronny James has a lot to prove coming up, and we always talk about this. Now, one, he hasn't played for a while, and people really want to see him on the court. Of course, you guys know by now he did tear his meniscus, and that injury can take some time. Definitely people didn't think he was going to be out this long, but depending on how severe the injury is, of course, that time that you're being out and not able to hop on the court definitely can change from situation to situation. But personally, it does sound like, from what sources are saying, Bronny James actually is going to be back pretty soon, but we're just going to have to wait to see what he is actually going to do on the court. But again, this is a huge time for him to prove himself. We haven't seen this dude play in a minute, and of course, if he doesn't end up playing with his high school team, Sierra Canyon, man, I would love to see him play AAU. There's so many talented players, and man, the one thing Bronny James has to do that we've been waiting for is prove his worth. At some point, all the hype, all the clout, all the popularity can only get you so far. People really want to know, is Bronny going to live up to that name, to that last name James? Is he really going to be as good as a lot of people say he is, or is it all talk? Personally, Bronny definitely has it in him to be an excellent player. You guys have seen by now this dude and what he can do on the court. Man, he definitely is getting buckets, and we've seen times in AAU games where this guy is throwing the ball down, going crazy on the court, and really shows what he's capable of. Now, has he always showed that game, and especially in high school, did he always show that he was killing on the court and really have that killer instinct in him? Of course not. But it does take time to develop, and I think that's when we talk about such young of players. He's only in 10th grade, that we have to keep in mind how young he is, and also that he hasn't stepped on the court in a minute, so we've really forgot about him. Now, in addition to this, what it really seemed like was that ESPN also took this into account, because Bronny James dropped off the ESPN ranking list, as a lot of you guys know I reported for before. And I believe Bronny James was around 28th to the 30th spot, and of course at the time it was only top 30, and now he is no longer on that list. And that's of course because he's been injured, hasn't played in a minute, but it's really interesting to see that he's been dropped off the list, yet he's honestly one of these players that has one of the most promise in his class and in high school basketball, if he can really live up to that standard. You guys know, in addition to him, we've been talking about Bryce James as well, and Bryce has been playing against top talent as well. He's been playing up. I believe he was playing in 15U and he's only about 13, so that's really good for him to help him develop his game. And again, like I always say, iron sharpens iron. But man, Bronny James officially coming back from this injury. Hopefully he can get on the court this year. before the AAU season is actually done. And the reason why I say this is because it's time, man. If Bronny can hop on the court and get some buckets in the AAU season, I think he's going to turn a lot of heads. He'll probably get ranked back on the ESPN ranking list and really change people's perspective about him. A lot of people right now currently say he is overrated just because, of course, we haven't seen him play in a minute. But if he hops back on the court, he is definitely going to be changing a ton of people's mind, no doubt. Now, in addition to this, of course, you guys have seen that Bronny James was actually with Fuze, and he got a video in of him throwing down some dunks, putting the ball up, and this dude looked like he was ready to hop back on the court. So it's really confusing a lot of people why he's not officially actually playing. But of course, the one issue here that you have to keep in mind, and you have to take your time whenever you come back from injuries, especially a meniscus tear like this. You want to make sure that when you come back, you're 100% and not rushing things. And that's what Bronny James is really making sure of, and I'm sure the people around him, so that when he does step back on the court, he doesn't have to deal with this type of injury again, or at least he doesn't have the same type of reoccurring injury, which would be really sad and obviously hurt his career long term. You want to make sure that you recover and you're strong and ready to go. That's the number one thing when you're a high school athlete with so much promise to you and so much potential. Now, personally, I think the worst thing that could happen for Bronny right now is him going to AAU and someone joining his squad. Like you guys know, I've said this a bunch of times. I'm not a fan of people joining Bronny James' team because a lot of times what happens, although he is going against better competition, maybe in practice, if they do practice for some of these AAU teams, but that being said, a lot of times he does get overshadowed, and that's a problem that Bronny has faced his entire career for a while now. If you guys know, even back in the day, and yes, I did mistake this in one of my videos, I said strive for greatness, but what I meant to say was blue chips. Back in the day, of course, he played with Mikey and Mikey overshadowed him. I think this is the time for Bronny to really step into his own skin and show what he's made of on the court. This dude has to prove himself, and you guys know the haters and the type of people and the criticism, and of course him being D-ranked on ESPN, I think it's really all combining for something great to happen in Bronny James' career. And the reason I say this is because that's fuel. If you're a high school hooper, or you're an athlete in general, you know that people hating on you and doubting on you is really going to make you increase and want to go get buckets and prove people wrong. And I think Bronny James is going to use this as motivation to really show that he is a really good player. And of course, I got to put this here. This is if he wants to play in the future. You guys know, just because he's the son of an NBA player doesn't mean that he has to take the game as seriously as LeBron James. And of course, his motivation is different. Bronny can choose a different route than playing basketball. Of course, this dude's always on Twitch, chilling, doing all that other stuff, and it's going well for him. But this is another option. And if he's going to want to go to that next level, he is going to have to start taking this really seriously, prove himself, and show what he's made of on the court. He has done a lot so far on the court, but again, we haven't seen him play in a minute, so it's really time for him to come out of that shell, and we are going to see, is Bronny really that guy that we all waited to see? Is he really that good of a player? Personally, I think he's going to show up and prove a ton of people wrong. But you guys let me know in the comments down below, what do you think about his injury update? Do you think he's actually going to come back very soon? Or do you think these reports are actually stating and really just overhyping his injury? Let me know in the comments down below. Personally, we saw him in the Fuze video, so I think Bronny James is going to be back sooner than a lot of people think. And hopefully he hops in AAU so we can see this dude on the court again. You guys let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications to get a notification every time I upload a new video. All right, LNH, and I'm out.